If you wanna find me, yeah, I'm in the front row. Got my 2 tickets on me, I'm in the front row. The best place to be, I'm in the front row. Best place to be, yeah. If you wanna find me, yo, I'm in the front row. Got my 2 tickets on me, I'm in the front row. The best place to be, I'm in the front row. Best place to be, So what's colder than ice and even hotter than a flame? I be in the front row, chilling at a ball game. Yeah, you know what they say, when you're having fun, time flies. Catch me courtside, chilling with the inside. Scoop, come on, tell me how you want it. Catch me on the court, it's the best view in sports. Whether you're Lakers or Arizona Wildcats, whether you're Dodgers, Kings or Galaxy fan, in the front row's got everything that you need, from news and video.
This is Shereen Rayan, within the front row where you get the best views in sports. And I'm here with my co-host Lori Burkhart and a special guest on another episode of Central Sports Talk, where we talk about all things Wildcat. And I'm going to pass the ball over to Lori.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, so today we have a special guest, Quinn Magnuson, and he is ex-WSU. And he spent, what was it, 3 years, Quinn?
In the CFL 6.
In the CFL 6. But it
only
was
4 in college.
Yeah,
4 in college.
You did go.
Not 6 in college.
I didn't know if you transferred in.
That's right. Nope, just 4 at WSU.
Okay, so 4 years at WSU and then 6 years in the CFL. Yep. He's also the father of Leif Magnuson, who is on the offensive line for the University of Arizona Wildcats. So welcome, Quinn. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you. Great to be here and happy to talk to you about Arizona Wildcat football.
A long time in coming.
Oh, I know. We've been planning this one for a few months now, it seems.
If my life ever got settled down, we maybe could have done it sooner, but hey, here we are.
Here we are. Timing's everything.
Right.
Awesome.
So Quinn, why don't we talk a little bit? Let's dive into like your Wazoo days.
Sure.
So you are from Canada, correct?
Yep.
And have been even during that time. Yes. So what made you decide to go to Washington State of all places in Pullman?
Well, it's kind of multi-purpose, that answer. This is way back. This is 1989, and I was like literally dubbing we didn't have Huddle back then, so we were dubbing tape from VHS tape to VHS tape, and apparently my head coach at the high school I was at, said I was the best player in Western Canada, potentially the country as far as linemen go. And I was like, wow, okay, that's awesome. He said, yeah, I put a couple calls into a few schools. So actually after my senior year, and this is long before school started recruiting kids in grade 7, 8, and 9, like they literally wouldn't talk to you till grade 11. So at the end of my senior year, I had offers from Hawaii, Cincinnati, back when Cincinnati sucked, Oregon State, like University of the Pacific. But when I graduated, I was literally I just turned 17, like literally in March of my senior year. So I was super young. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to play one more year of it's called junior football up here. And it's basically, it's not school related. So you're allowed to play 1 year of post secondary and you don't lose eligibility. It's kind of cool actually. So I played 1 year with this junior team against much bigger and better competition, because at 6'5", 270, it wasn't a competition in the league we played in. So I played 1 year essentially against 18 to 23-year-olds, so all college age men. And I started every game for this junior team, and I was rookie of the year and had a great year. And that's when all the better scholarships started coming out. The reason why I chose Washington State, to get to your answer, is that Washington State had a great track team. And they always have a great track team, and they were certainly powerhouse in the 80s and 90s. And I was the Canadian national junior shot put champion, and went to World Juniors. And so I really love track and field as much as I love football. And they were the only school that said, yeah, we're okay. Like Dennis Erickson recruited me, like the Dennis Erickson. Right. And he's like, I don't care if you do track in the spring, as long as you're there on day one at fall camp. I'm like, perfect. Thank you, coach. So I chose Washington State for that reason. It was close enough to home for I'm 21-hour drive, but close enough that my mom and I could still drive back and forth. And all the other schools I was getting offers from were too far away. So I just said, it's good. The Palouse is a lot like Saskatchewan, where we're from. So a lot of, just things that made me feel comfortable. So the track thing and everything. So I ended up Washington State for 4 years, went to a bowl game, played with Drew Bledsoe. It was awesome. It was good. It was a good 4 year experience. But I realized that me and Ruben Mays, if you remember that name,
I do.
Yeah, Ruben Mays, him and I are the only two high school kids from Saskatchewan to get full scholarships to Power 5 schools. Until Leif. So me and Leif, and then Ruben Mays. So not bad company we're in with Ruben there. And he was at Washington State as well. And so that was one of the other reasons. But yeah, you just don't get scholarships out of Saskatchewan going to Power 5 schools. Like, it just doesn't happen. It's very unique. So
why do you think that is? Is it because people just kind of ignore the Canadian connection? Or do you think that the kids, there's just that area doesn't do a good job of promoting their kids too? What do you think?
Okay. As far as promoting, they don't do that at all, because we do have our own college football league. It's called CIS, Canadian Inter-University Sports. And there's no coach in any area that has high school football that's going to promote the United States to the local kids. They want them to stay home. And so it's very rare that way. Plus Saskatoon, like where me and Leif are from, it's like 200,000 people. It's small. It's kind of a flyover state, as you would call it. It's a flyover province. Really all the scholarship kids, if you take a look at like the year that Leif came out and got his scholarship and the top 30 out of Canada, like 22 of them are from Ontario, around Toronto, handful from Vancouver, couple from Calgary, and then a couple from Quebec. So Leaf's unique in that way, because Saskatchewan isn't really known for producing great football players, although there's always one kid every year that probably could go south, but the coaches here won't tell them that. And they wouldn't know first step of what to do. The only reason Leif's in the position is in, aside from his talent, is because I know the path. I know the journey and the hard work and the camps you got to go to. We drove like 13 hours to North Dakota overnight to get there for camp the next day. Then we went down to South Dakota. We did all the like camps that are within a 20-hour drive of us. And we spent lots of money to do it, because Leif's goal was to play Power 5 football. And it was just, but yeah, as far as Saskatchewan goes, it's hockey. I mean, every kid that comes out of here wants to play hockey, even though there's some great football players, but just not a lot to get down to the States.
Right. Well, that makes sense.
It's cold outside.
What's that?
It's cold outside.
Yeah, I mean, we have beautiful summers. Don't get me wrong. Like, we're 75 to 100 every summer. It's just short. It's like 3 months and we're done. Right. And then fall football starts September 1st. It's beautiful in September, but by October 10th, there's snow on the ground, and the city finals in a foot of snow, and the provincial finals in minus 30. So, not much fun, but it builds character.
Yeah, it makes you tough.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's kind of amazing to me that the recruiters for Power 5 conferences don't stick their foot into Canada to take a look at the talent that's there. Basketball does, but you gotta remember,
Lori, that's Montreal and Toronto and Vancouver, and mostly Montreal and Toronto. They're not looking anywhere on the prairies for basketball kids.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, which is unfortunate, because I think there's a lot of talent out there. And it's just, they just haven't connected here, It
boils down to ROI for the schools, like return on investment in sending a coach all the way up to the middle of nowhere to maybe look at one kid. Like if there was 4 or 5 kids every year that were even Division I eligible and good enough to play, then there'd be worth like a coach coming up, staying for a few days and watching a couple games. But there just isn't. And the only coaches that ever came up to see Leif was after the season, once he'd already had his offers. So it's just, it's not what we heard from all the coaches we talked to was, nobody knows who you are. Nobody knows where you're from. Like we'd rather take, like, for example, even the North Dakota, South Dakota schools, even though that's closer to us than FCS, they basically just said, yeah, we'd rather take a Dakota kid than a Saskatchewan kid. And I get it. I mean, you want to serve the local population, but when you have a kid whose tape looked as good as Leafs did in his senior year, you'd think you'd be, jumping on that a little more, but it's okay. We're very happy at Arizona.
Oh, I was just going to say.
How did it work out? Like, how did you get it working?
Yeah, you know what? It
I didn't
was
even get noticed in the West.
wow. Do you have enough time? We started him in grade, like he made the varsity team in grade 9, and we were like, okay, so he was a great little long snapper, wasn't overly big, like he was a tweener for size, so he played fullback and you know, and linebacker, but we started with NCSA and we got their help a little bit, and I'm not a huge fan of recruiting you know, companies like that, but they gave us enough information to be dangerous. And then in grade 10, before his grade 10 season, we went down to all the Dakota camps. And then after his grade 11 season, we went to, well, he actually got invites to Minnesota, Northwestern, and a few others. Arizona was never really on the radar until start of grade 12, and Coach Kyle Devan got a hold of us. But I'll tell you what people don't get, aside from a kid's talent, it is literally how many times can you make touch points with coaches down in the States, or with any program or anything. And it's DMs, and it's Twitter, and it's emails, and it's sending film out, and it's going to camps and introducing yourself and making sure, because these coaches have a hard enough time looking over thousands of kids every year, and kids hounding them on email and everything. You got to stand out. So there's definitely a marketing ploy behind it and play behind it. And for us, I'll tell you the very unique story, and I'll try to keep it short because I'm rambling on here, but it was kind of cool. So
remember, we can cut stuff out, so it's okay.
So Leif's Twitter account, I helped him with that. I told him, like, you know, how to speak politely, how to make, you know, grammar, spelling, punctuation. His Twitter account, like, he played at a high school here called Bethlehem Catholic High School. Well, down in Pennsylvania, there's a pretty famous high school called Becca, or Beth Catholic, down in Pennsylvania. And there was a strength coach who was a Canadian who was working down in Iowa, and he saw his account and saw Beth Catholic. And he DM'd Leif and said, hey, he goes, are you a Canadian playing down in Pennsylvania? And so Leif and I responded to him, and it was like, you know, thanks for reaching out, coach. No, actually, Beth Catholic, LOL, haha, is in Saskatchewan, Canada. So we started this conversation back and forth, and this guy said, well, your first 3-game tape is unreal. He goes, do you mind if I send it out to a few coaches in my area, like to Iowa and Iowa State? We're like, no problem, go ahead. Like, but that was our first big break. And then he sent it to, he called us a few days later, and I'm probably not in a good timeline here, but he said, I talked to the guys at Kansas, and they want to know if you'll come down on an unofficial to the game next weekend. Wow. And we were like, holy you know, and wow, like first Power 5
podcast, you can say it.
Yeah, you can say whatever you want on YouTube.
It's like Joe Rogan, I can just swear all I want.
Yeah.
But he said, can you, and we're like, absolutely, we'll spend the money. So my wife, I was busy, my wife flew him down. He went to the game against Kansas, unofficial visit. They offered him while he was down there. And then we posted it to Twitter, and that's when everything just blew up. The second we posted that to Twitter, the next day it was Indiana. 3 days later, Boston College. A week later, Washington State, Fresno State, Syracuse. Like, all of a sudden, but we kind of knew that would happen. As soon as you get that first Power 5 offer, all of a sudden, all the other schools go, wait, who's this kid? Where is he from? Wow, we should check him out. And so then all these other coaches checked out the film, loved the film, and said, you know, and Kansas and Indiana were the first two. And then, like I said, about 5 or 6 more. So by October of his senior year, he had 7 Power 5 offers. And we were just absolutely floored. And not that we weren't expecting it necessarily, but Power 5 was kind of that stretch goal, right? And because he had only played 1 year of offensive line. So finishes the senior season. The first early signing day goes by. Indiana actually had pulled their offer. Boston College had changed coaches, so they pulled their offer. And we just said, okay, we're just going to wait because we feel like there's something good in the works here. So after Christmas, that's when Kyle Devan started talking to us. That's when a couple other coaches started talking to us. We had 4 coaches in our house between January 4th and January 10th. Minus 40 weather, literally that entire week the coaches were here was minus 40, and they were just like, what the heck. But it was like Rice, Arizona, UMass, and one other school I can't remember. And Kyle said, okay, you are 6'4". I can see that. He goes, I verified it. I'm going to call Coach Sumlin. And then we had the offer. We canceled all the other trips. Coastal Carolina was the other one that came up late too. They flew in, and we just said, nope, we're happy with Arizona. We're going to go down to be a Wildcat. So I don't think people understand the grind these kids go through, and the parents to get noticed, especially the ones that are the 3 stars. 4s and 5s are easy. It's the 3-star that literally have to sell their soul to the devil and just work their tails off. And that's his story, and it's an amazing story. And like I said, we're super happy where we're at.
That's great. And I think it's great that the thing that he also had that a lot of kids don't have is you played in the Pac-12. You played, so you're familiar with the systems there, although they have, in the time that you have been gone, and now they've kind of evolved a little bit. But having that knowledge though of that conference had to help a lot with his.
There's a legacy thing there. Like JT Hand's dad, Brian, obviously played in the Pac-12, and anytime the dad played Power 5 football, and you see the genetics and the kid's talented, you go, okay, they get it, right? And Kevin Sumlin was actually my GA at Washington State when I was there. Ironically, he was in his first year as a GA.
Wow.
So that's but it was so funny because when I walked up to Kevin on the recruiting trip, he didn't even recognize me, and I was like, "Yeah, I kind of figured that." But it had. I don't know if that had anything to do with Leif getting signed. I mean, Leif got there on his own, but yeah, definitely the legacy of father playing, or they take a look at the parents. My wife was a college basketball player. That always helps too. And then playing CFL, there's just genetics, right? They know they can take it and mold it into something. Right.
So speaking of the CFL,
yeah,
why don't you talk us through that whole process after you got done at Wazoo, and waved goodbye to the Palouse, which, by the way, just side note, I went to the University of Idaho, and and spent a lot of time over at Wazoo. My grandfather graduated from Washington State.
We partied at the University Inn, and we came over to UI all the time.
Yeah, that 8 miles, that 8-mile stretch before.
8 miles. But you had to take the back road so the state troopers didn't catch it.
I know, it's true. Yeah, I would go over there a lot and visit, and then and I had some friends. I grew up in Boise, so I had some friends who ended up also coming to the University of Idaho, but I had a few that went to Washington State as well. So we would all meet over in Pullman. Yeah. I mean, in Moscow, because at that time, I think you were probably about the same time I was. You could drink at 19. So, or was it the year after?
I was 89 to 93, and it was 21 the whole time. But I think I missed it by a year or two.
I was up there 84. So yeah. So
I wish I was 19 because I didn't get to drink at all.
Yeah, well. I know. or we're saying that you didn't drink at all. I'll cover for you. Yeah. But so I spent a lot of time at Washington State, and then we lived in the Tri-Cities, Richland, Kennewick, Pasco, and so Washington State was our team for a very long time because we could travel.
Love that area. Beautiful area of the world, and that's why I liked it, because it was a lot like Saskatchewan. So a lot of time in those two schools. Yeah.
So back to the CFL. Yeah. Just thought I would throw that out there, getting to know each other. Sure. So you finish up at Washington State. Tell me about that. Are you trying, what was that process? Are you looking to the NFL? Are you looking to the CFL? What was your mindset?
Yeah. So, I mentioned the track thing earlier, and here's what happened. So Dennis Erickson recruits me. And then literally a week or 2 weeks after I signed my letter of intent in February of that year of 89, he takes the job at Miami, and he leaves. And the new coach that came in, Mike Price, who now is kind of a legend on the Palouse as far as taking like Rose Bowls and whatever, but he didn't like me doing track. And I said, well, I'm doing track because that's why I came here. And so I kind of, it wasn't necessarily blacklisted, but they just basically said, okay, well, if you're not fully committed to football, we need to give other players a chance. So in terms of my playing time, I didn't start any games till my senior year. And even then I only started a handful, but I was the team's long snapper for 4 full years, played special. This is back when long snappers were 6'5", 280.
Right.
Not anymore. So my NFL stock, there wasn't even any stock. It was a penny stock, and it went under. And so, CFL, it's a great league. Don't get me wrong. It's a fantastic league, but they're just saying, okay, they have a Canadian kid who played 4 years at a Power 5 school. We'll draft him. We'll invite him to the combine and put him in the draft. So I went to the combine in 93 and was like top 3 in every event, standing broad jump, vertical, everything. Right. But unfortunately I had a few injuries in college. And so my stock, even though I was like supposed to be a first round pick coming out, it ended up dropping to 6th round because I had injury issues. And in the CFL, teams can't afford, and I mean NFL either, can't afford to pay good money to a player that could potentially be an injury risk, right? So I ended up going to the 6th round of Winnipeg. I played 1 year in Winnipeg, ended up getting released, got picked up by my hometown of Saskatchewan, got released by them, ended up in Ottawa with the Rough Riders out in Ottawa in 95. And then they folded. And then I ended up getting picked up by the Montreal Alouettes in 96. So I had 4 teams in 4 years and then got traded back to Winnipeg in 97. But you know what, for any kid to say they played professionally, no matter what their contribution was, even if they're a practice roster, there is such a small percentage of football players that get to say that. And it's a very elite exclusive group to even say you were on a sideline with a team, even if you were just a backup your entire career, right? So my 5 to 6 years in the CFL, played a lot of special teams, had a few starts at O-line, but nothing to write home about. But what a great experience to be able to. So, but if he starts even 1 year at Arizona, the CFL will snap him up right away. Like they want good Canadian offensive linemen, and they also know that they get coached well down in the States, and that's just an automatic draft pick right there.
So he has a new coach, and he's still a freshman.
3rd year freshman going into
3rd year freshman, so he gets another 4 years.
Yeah.
To play now. That just makes him more mature, wouldn't you think? Like,
absolutely.
I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So when he got down to Arizona, he was a young 18. He had just turned 18. Kyle Devan even said to him, "You're a project for me." He goes, "I love you, Leif." He goes, "But you're a project. You're gonna basically just grind the first year, red shirt. We're gonna develop you, and then we'll see where it goes from there." So then COVID happens. He dresses for a couple games just because they could. Doesn't lose his year. Works hard in the off season, comes back this season, gets a little bit of playing time here and there, travels for a few games, works his tail off. Him and JT and Josh Baker are like absolute animals in the weight room. So he played more this year, but red shirts because he didn't play in more than 4 games, which is awesome. And now he's got still 4 more full years of eligibility.
That's wild.
Yeah, so he's got he started at number 1 left guard at the start of spring camp a couple weeks ago. And today he said they're making some moves that are the valuable ones. Those types of kids, not just these 3, but any kid that's like that. That's what the coaches.
Well, and here's the thing, as we all know, looking at last year, it's next man up, right? I mean, look at how many injuries happened on that offensive line.
That Cal game.
Oh my gosh. I was like, we're going to have to like take some defensive guys and make them play offense. And we're going to have to take some running backs and put them on the offense.
Oh, I was screaming my head off in my living room watching that game because I was like, okay, wait, Donovan's down. Okay, wait, Lay's down. Oh, Morgan went down. And then Stefanski went in, and then like 3 plays, he hurts his ankle. And I turned to my wife and I screamed. I said, Leaf's going in. Yeah. So we were like videoing the TV. It was awesome.
Yeah, I was like, when I saw Leif come in, and didn't JT get in too? He got in too, didn't he?
JT actually that game, JT got in early and stayed the whole game. Played almost the whole game.
Yep.
And then Leif did a whole quarter and a half or something. So
yeah. Oh, that game was nuts. I was like, what is going on right now?
I said, Leif, you're 1-0.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. You know what's funny is that everybody was saying, hey, Cal, they had problems with COVID, blah, 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 right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, hold up. Do you even understand the injuries that Arizona is playing with right now?
Yeah,
or
pretty
not
even.
playing with right now? I mean, put that COVID talk to bed, people. We've got like barely an offensive line right now.
Yeah. Absolutely. That was a great game though. What a great win for them. And man, get the monkey off your back. And Will Plummer, man, that game absolutely just, I think, you know, I don't know where he's gonna end up, but what a great kid and such a tough leader. And Leif said the guys love him. So it's great. So
yeah, he was a warrior that game. That was warrior status right there.
He proved how tough he was.
Oh my gosh. I was actually at that game. And
he hurt himself too, and he still kept playing.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, like literally we thought he wasn't coming back in because he was hurt. But nope, here it came.
Well, I think Will saw that as an opportunity. I mean, sometimes you can get that extra adrenaline just because you think this is my opportunity. I'm not letting this, even if they take me off on a stretcher out in a hearse. Right. I'm not coming out of this game because it might be the last time I see the field. And he did that, and he absolutely, he did cement his warrior status that game for sure.
Oh my gosh. Well, and not only that, we didn't have any more scholarship quarterbacks.
I know. Luke Afterworth got some plays that game.
It was Joyner. He had to play sub, and oh my gosh, what I mean, honestly though, as I was reflecting back on last season, I'm like, look at how that team came together. Like they are truly family now because they just went through the flames of hell and came out the other side and came out stronger and just a better team and better people because of that.
They just needed that one win. They needed that one win. And even though they didn't win one the rest of the season, I mean, don't get me wrong, it mattered, you know, to maybe win a second one, but that one was the one that changed things. That was a bit of a turning point because it just loosens everybody up a little bit. You know, you got some depth players in there. You see what the future looks like. Obviously, you know, coach has done an amazing job of recruiting this offseason. That's understated.
Right.
Yeah, definitely a turning point though, that game. And then even the games against Oregon and some of the other games where they kept it close right to the end.
Yeah.
Like there was nothing. It's just a couple missing pieces.
12 men on the field problem.
Yeah. There you go.
I'm excited for your son, and the coaching staff seems to have kept these guys happy even though they were losing. And that's amazing.
That's hard to do. There was a lot of grumble, like especially in the COVID year. That was tough to take. I mean, the 70-7, whatever it was, God forbid. You know, that really was where. That anymore. Yeah.
That's we don't talk that.
And that's fun. But you know what though? It's good to remember some things like that at times. But that was tough. And then the off season changed things, and obviously Coach Fish comes in and does a great job of changing, just like you said, the whole environment and the culture. Right? It's about culture. And you got to develop culture, and you got to keep preaching the same messages, which he has the whole time. That, you know, and you can say, well, it didn't pay off because they were 1-11, but it doesn't matter. There was you take a look at the makeup of a team and the camaraderie and the like you said, the family, its personal mantra. And like, I talked to Leif a lot, and he said that, like, I never hear him say, oh, this guy does this or anything bad. Like, they don't talk bad about each other. They all really support each other.
They used to not be happy with each other, and a lot of people left.
Yeah.
You know? So it gave us a fresh start. And I think the second year people that were there last year, they're really hungry. They're really hungry to win.
Yeah.
Have you met any of the new parents that have come in? Because there's only local parents coming in.
You know what? I followed the whole recruiting off season there, and like Noah's mom's obviously everywhere. Keon Burnett's mom, like that whole Polynesian crew out of Survey. Right.
The SoCal. I'm from Southern California.
Yeah, such a fun group. You know, Nancy Stovall, Grayson's mom, has DM'd me and sent me a few things that she caught I wouldn't say in the paper, but online about Leif, about the O-line. It's good. Like, we went down to 3 games last year, and we met a bunch of parents then, obviously none of the new freshman type parents, but it's, you know, everyone's kind of in the same situation. You're all hoping your boy plays, and if he's playing, they hope they don't get hurt.
Yeah.
And you're just there to support them as much as you can. But at the same time, as a parent, you really just want to realize, you know, why they're at the University of Arizona. And number one, it's for Leif, for me at least, and my wife, it's about life experience, just getting away from home, spending 5 years on his own with new people, It's about the education. Get your education. That still counts. And then the football. I mean, it's not that football comes last, but you want them to understand the big picture.
Right.
And I think that's important for parents and players alike.
And even though, you know, he can't do the NIL stuff, he can do it in life once he graduates.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're learning all kinds of how to brand yourself and all that. And Arizona's been on the forefront of that. I've seen a lot of schools, you know, not on the forefront of that. They have all these different programs, and hopefully he can partake in that. And take it from me, both my kids graduate from Arizona, and they both have really, really, really good jobs. So
I told him to network himself. I said, Leif, you're a polite kid. I said, you speak well. I said, network yourself as much as you can. I said, set yourself up for after college. You know, I said in the off season, I said, when you're in businesses, when you're out talking, I said, go do all the community work that you can as much as you can. Someone's going to notice that, and someone's going to kind of tag you and keep you around and talk to you when you graduate and give you a job. And he's already said, there's no way I'm coming back to Saskatchewan. He said,
he's over that.
Well, 6 months of winter will change that for you when you go to Arizona. But he just said he loves it down there. And he said, don't get me wrong, Mom and Dad. He goes, I'll come home for you guys. But he goes, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't come back to Saskatchewan necessarily.
But it'll always be a proud Canadian. I know.
And he's proud of where he's from for sure. But the cold weather, you can't beat that Arizona heat, man. So it's good. It's good that he's already seeing towards the future.
That's fantastic. I was on LinkedIn the other day. I posted a basketball article on LinkedIn, and Ben Matherin DM'd me and said, thank you for supporting the team. So you never know who's so LinkedIn is where you need to be. You need to, and it was smart of him to get on early. And then there's so many sports people on LinkedIn now. When it first started, there wasn't. And now there's a ton of people in sports, a ton.
Yep. Network. If you're good with people and you communicate well, you'll always have a job.
Exactly.
I will tell you, networking is the key to success in everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
It just is. In life, in work, in relationships. I mean, that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit. Okay, so you were there 1 year, or Leif was there 1 year with someone, and now, you know, with Fish.
Yeah.
As a parent, from the outside looking in, differences. How do you feel? You know, without saying anything horribly bad.
Politically correct. Yeah.
Yeah. As we spoke about before.
Yeah, you know what? When Coach Fish was hired, I think everybody was kind of just sitting and waiting to see, because he wasn't the big name everybody wanted, right? Everybody was talking about 3 or 4 other coaches before Jed Fish's name came up. And so then when he got hired, I mean, I do a lot of research, you know, on things I'm very interested in and passionate about. And I did the research, and I said to Leif, Leif, this guy's heavily connected. I said, he's coached everywhere. I said, that's not a bad thing. I said, he's got so much experience at the NFL level, at the college level. He's coached with some of the greatest coaches that have ever coached. I said, he's going to bring all that and that enthusiasm of being a first-time head coach in a Power 5 school. I said, don't underestimate this guy. I said, he's going to be good for this program. And then we watched what happened in the offseason between 20 and 21. And it was like, what he did with the basketball teams with Coach, Coach Adia Barnes, with the men's team. And I actually tweeted out something that said, Coach Fish has literally become the glue on this campus that has brought all the teams back into the fold of Arizona Athletics and makes them all proud of each other and support each other. And that's massive. That is huge when you're the football team and you know all the other teams got your back, or you're the swimming team and the basketball team shows up, or you're the tennis team and the track team shows up. When I was at Washington State, we did a lot of that, and it makes you feel good knowing that the teams don't just stay in silos.
Yeah.
And that's what Coach Fish did right away, is he led by example and showed the teams, all the athletic teams, we're all one family here. It's not just about football. It's about everybody. And so right away, the culture changed. Leif said that. He said, man, he goes, it's like this massive weight's been lifted off campus. He goes, everyone's way happier. He goes, everyone's excited for the season. And even through the 1-11, they stayed positive. They didn't give up. They didn't.
That was amazing to me. Amazing.
That to me is a miracle, to keep a team focused as well as Coach Fish did for 12 games and only win one. And that's why that one game
implode on each other, because I heard in the Sumlin years, the parents were like blaming the people's kids while the parents were sitting right there. And there's a lot of like really bad stuff. So I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm really happy. And for Leif to get coached by, you know, Brennan, you know, just with his lineage, you know, with his dad and being from Seattle.
Connections.
Well, yeah. And the funny thing is that Leif and I have been like massive Seahawks fans for like our entire lives.
Wow.
So that's really super cool. And I'm hoping to get a chance to actually, you know, shake Brennan's hand. But he said, Coach Carroll, he said, I really like Coach Devan. Don't get me wrong. He said, Coach Kyle and I got along great. He said, I liked his style, but he says, Coach Carroll's another one that's going to take a handful of us and get us to the next level. So
they have connections. Like this group has so many, between Ricky Hunley, Jed Fish, Chuck Cecil, Teddy Bruschi, you know, he brought back all the alumni. The alumni are happy. I'm not used to having happy alumni. I remember Ricky couldn't get on the field when Rich Rod was the coach or Kevin Sumlin. They wouldn't let him on the field. Yeah. You know, and now he's an assistant coach. So
you can't forget your past. Like, I don't know why teams do that. And I mean, that's what I heard that Coach Sumlin did, is he didn't connect in the community. He didn't connect with alumni, and it was very closed in. Like the difference, even what I could see in the media coverage between that COVID 20 year and then the next year was night and day, because like the media was allowed to finally be at practice and talk to the players and talk to the coach. And it just, like I said, it lifted that air of gloomy cloud gray off the program and said, come and look at us, come talk to us, let's go. Yeah. And that was amazing. That was awesome.
I love it. Well, I went to 2 games last year and sat in the booth with Brian, and we didn't win those games because it was UCLA and USC, but it was fun. I still had fun, and we still had chances.
I think
we were so close. Every game we could have won. We could have won every game. There were penalties at the end, and I mean, these teams they don't. The kids don't cut out and transfer most of the time. They don't cut out and go to the NFL, right? So these teams are together for a lot. Didn't we play San Diego State or something? These teams have been together forever with the same coach. There's a big difference if you're got all these seniors on the team and they've always been with the same coach. They know the playbook. It's so different than, it's a brand new year. Here's a brand new playbook and we're going to play like this. And we don't know who our quarterback is because our quarterbacks keep getting injured. And to play through all that and stay positive was something to behold.
It was. And I think this year, wow, I don't want to predict anything, but it feels like there's going to be
more than one win.
Well, yeah, like I'll tell you what, I don't know if you saw my tweet. It was last week or after the first practice of spring. I saw the catch that Tedero McMillan made. One of the 4 one-handed catches he made that practice, but I saw the one on video, and I texted Leif that night, and I said, Leif, I said, what do you think about T-Mac? And he goes, what did he say? He goes, he's disgusting. And that's a positive thing, obviously, but he just goes, he goes, the kid's unreal. And
I watched him in high school. I couldn't believe it. And his chemistry with Noah, that's something. Yeah. You know, the same thing with Khalil and Devon Cooper. They played a lot together. Yeah. So when they went there, they knew, there was a lot of, so Noah and T-Mac have a ton of chemistry. And that's something to be, they know. He knows where the ball's going to go. Yeah.
Well, just competition that creates as well. Like a lot of these players come in, these guys, they got a chance to start. Like I wouldn't be surprised if T-Mac starts. I wouldn't be surprised if Burnett's gets a ton of reps in the first few games. I think Noah's probably going to sit back and watch and learn, which is fine. Yeah. Jonas, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I want to say Savanea, but like there's a kid that potentially could start, right? So there's going to be a ton of competition in camp. These players are going to push each other to get better. And the great thing about it is that regardless of who starts, we're going to have depth. And that's something that
8 350-pound linemen somewhere.
Yeah. Burjon, I think it is.
I have a feeling that dude's going to start even if he doesn't play well.
Yeah. So,
all he has to do is stand there.
Yeah. That's the funny thing though, Shereen, is that like, and we'll talk about offensive line play, But Brian Hand and I were talking about that, and he goes, how many 6'8" tackles do you see in the NFL?
That's true.
Like, don't get me wrong. Like and you took a look at the draft, and you take a look at the 6'7" and 6'8" tackles now. Like Evan Neal 6'6", and the kid out of Minnesota, Fa'alele, is 6'8". So it's starting to change. The body shape is, but big doesn't mean better necessarily. Right. It certainly can, but you still have to be really technical and really not strength, obviously, just everyone's strong. But you've got to be super smart. And from what I've heard from Leif, he said Coach Carroll wants players that don't make mistakes. So it doesn't matter who's on the – yeah, well, no, exactly, because that's what you pull your hair out. I've coached O-line for 30 years, and that's the thing that pulls my hair out is kids making mistakes. It's not about them. You got beat one-on-one because that kid was better than you. It's right. You didn't make your right block. And that's the thing that, a lot of those players have to pride themselves on. It's like, you can beat me physically, maybe, but I'm never going to take the wrong step or block the wrong guy or miss my calls or anything. And that's what Coach Carroll's doing with these guys.
So here's my take on it. It's that, and I think I said this on Twitter during the season too. As I was watching our O-line, and then I was watching other teams' O-line, quickness, strength, and intelligence. Those three things to me were that was not that our kids aren't smart, not that our kids aren't strong, not that our kids aren't, quick. Mm-hmm. One step behind. They were just they just missed a block by a second, It was like that quickness just wasn't quite there. But again, everybody was filling in for everybody. Everybody was learn new positions. First you're right, now you're left. Hey, why don't you play center today? Because we don't have a center. I mean, they were constantly having to move. But I think once they build that depth, and we can get the coaches can get the kids really knowing those positions and settled in those positions, that quickness, that strength, and that intelligence is going to come. And I already see it.
I need my starting five, whoever that's going to be, and I need three more guys that literally I can plug and play them, and it doesn't change a thing. Offensive line, besides DBs, offensive line is that position where you have to know what the guy beside you is doing. If you don't, and you don't get that continuity of playing beside each other and learning each other's calls and understanding how each other moves. You talk about quarterbacks and receivers. Well, it's very much so on the offensive line. And you mentioned quickness, strength, and intelligence. I would suggest that quickness and intelligence are just a hair ahead of strength. Yeah, and you see it in what the strength coaches are even coaching. Coach T.O. Tyler Owens is coaching. It's not about how much weight you can push, it's how fast you can push it. And that's what they're building in these kids. And all strength coaches are. It's like back when I played and me and Brian Hand played, it was about how much do you bench? How much do you squat? Right. Well, that's great, but it took you forever to do it, right? And offensive, defensive line play, if you have a mismatch, it's about the first guy getting there. Whoever gets to contact first is going to win. So, yeah, you mentioned a lot of good things about that. And I think T.O. coming in has been a major change for this program. The strength conditioning has been outstanding for these guys. You're going to see that on the field next fall.
Yeah, I really like the group of coaches that Jed Fish has brought in. And we already talked a little bit about this, but bringing in some of our alumni and making them part of that coaching staff. Brennan Sanders, I could name like 6 of them. Truly, there's like 6 of them that are involved. Yeah, and that is so important. I would say my Twitter friends who are like Jake and some of the others that are alumni, and I conversed with them, and they're so impressed. And it took them a while to get there. Don't get me wrong. It took them a while to get there. But now they're all in. They're all on board, and they can't see any other way but Jed Fish and the program that he's building. And that's got to feel good for the student athletes and for the coaches, to have that support.
It is. And you know what, as an alumni, even if, and I'm an alumni of multiple CFL teams, but even if you're losing, but the program still treats you as part of the family, and you know, you kind of have like all access to stuff, and you feel like you're still all losing together then. The worst feeling you can have as an alumni is to have a team and a program that's terrible and losing, and you're not even included or even recognized as being a former player or a former, you know, member of this program. And that's the thing that changed, and that's what's that's where culture just starts to bleed into the fabric of what the future looks like.
I agree. Okay,
one personal thing. I love all your names, Quinn and
Leif
and
Annika.
My puppy's name is Finn.
Okay.
So I'm really big into Irish names. So is there anything you could tell us about why he was named the way he was named? Or
yeah, so well, Magnuson is a very Scandinavian name. Like my grandparents were both came over from Norway and Sweden. And so we have a lot of Viking lineage, a lot of good Scandinavian.
That's a good nickname, Viking.
Yeah, so Magnuson itself is Scandinavian, and then Leif. I mean, if you remember anything from school, Leif Erikson, you know, the Scandinavian explorer, Viking explorer. My wife and I decided that we wanted our kids to have relatively unique names that were European and had some connection to the family. So Leif, obviously being Scandinavian, our daughter Annika, that's also very Scandinavian, but has a little bit of a Dutch heritage to it. So that's my wife's side. But it's just, yeah, I mean, it's fun, right? It's
nice. I love it.
We take Leif has a new Viking forearm sleeve.
Wow.
That he got done a few months ago, and I've got one on my shoulder here. So it's all about the Vikings and stuff. So it's good.
Okay,
so
remember that.
Do we expect Leif to come out with the Viking horn?
Yeah.
I heard the haka is back, but we got in hot water a couple of years ago with that. If we don't do it the right way, we're going to get a lot of crap for the haka.
Oh, the Polynesians will lose it. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, they did. The New Zealand people got on us. It was a whole thing. So Sandy Fuimona, he came up with one just for Arizona, and then no one could say anything. It was an Arizona haka.
Nice.
So I told them all they have to go talk to Sandy, and he'll teach them the haka. I think he's in Tucson.
Cool. Well, I heard that Zona opened the first practice with that.
He did.
And Leif said it was awesome. He said it was such a cool thing to see. And I.
All right.
Do we talk O-line, or do you have any more questions, or have I taken up my time?
Oh, we can keep talking. I was just trying to think of anything else that, you know, I didn't want to get too much into the positions and all of the things that go along with the O-line, because I kind of want to save that for next. So I was kind of trying to skirt that a little bit. But I think we covered it pretty well. This was great. And it was really about you as a parent, what you did in the PAC and in the CFL and Leif, and, you know, all of that. And I think we covered it really well. So I appreciate your time.
Yeah, we're so excited. We finally got to talk to you, Quinn.
Well, I'll try to get Brian on next time. He's a shy guy that Brian had, but.
If you wanna find me, yeah, I'm in the front row. Got my 2 tickets on me, I'm in the front row. It's the best place to be, I'm in the front row. Best place to be, yeah. If you wanna find me, yo, I'm in the front row. Got my 2 tickets on me, I'm in the front row. It's the best place to be.